So here we are, Blackfoot Motorsports. Heading out on my test ride of the Voyager. Oh, heel toe shifter. I love it. Layout of the dash is very nice. It is very much a retro 50s, 60s muscle car type era. Let's give it a little flicky here. Wow, it's very flickable. Lots of engine braking. This is Toby on the Scrambler who's taking me out today. We're going to do a loop. Highway, a little bit of city. We're going to do on and off ramp so I can see how it leans. Go through an industrial area. So I believe this is a 2019 Kawasaki Voyager 1700. The second last bike I need to test ride before I pick one. I love the heel toe shifter, love the large floorboards. Easily fits my size 11 boot. Very comfortable saddle. I would like the bars up a little higher, but that's very easy to do just by rolling the bar and loosening the bolts, rolling the bar up a little bit. It's just a little bit low for me, but wow. This thing leans beautifully. Very, very nice. So the 1700 is in fact a 1700cc, 103 cubic inch. 6-speed where 5th and 6th are overdrive. Belt drive. 38 liters a side on the side bags, and I believe it's a 58 or 59 liter top case. It does hold 2 large full face helmets. You'll see the pictures that I'll include with the video. The mirrors, I do see that I would potentially need some mirror extenders. For some reason they're just catching a lot of my shoulder compared with my Nomad that I had. It's different not having the digital readout like I have on my V-Strom. It's what you get used to. So it looks like red line is about 6,000 RPM. And these bikes are meant to be ridden at about 4,000. A lot of people, they make the mistake of shifting into the overdrive gear way too soon. So most times, from what I've read, and owning my 2014, you're going to be at, lots of acceleration. You're going to be in 5th gear at 110, 120. And you won't go into 6th unless you're like on the interstates in the United States going 80 mile an hour. So normally they don't do test rides until noon on Saturdays, but they were very, very nice to arrange to do this at 10 o'clock in the morning for me so I can get back today. Wow, look at that lead angle. Holy, not scraping anything. You know, I'll have to ask him if this is the stock saddle that the bike comes with, because it is so comfortable. It's like being on a little pillow top. So the windshield for me is a little tall. I'm actually looking through the top 2 inches of it, if you like. So I would need to get a lower windshield, but that's not a big deal because I do like to look over the top of the windshield and put some mirror wideners on it. I'm not going to turn on the stereo or play with any of the other buttons or anything today because honestly I'm not really that interested in the stereo and stuff, and that's why this bike appeals to me. I have my Senna for giving me my GPS instructions and my Bluetooth, making phone calls and all that. It's amazing the lean angle this thing has.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel that this 103 cubic inch or 1700cc motor is choked to death. I've watched a bunch of reviews saying that people find you need to do the Ivan's ECU flash in order to bring the motor to life. And that would be something I might consider once the bike's off warranty, but honestly, I find this has more than enough power for what I want to do. It's the same as what my my 2014 Nomad was like. There's a beautiful shot of Calgary for everybody. Is this the stock saddle?
Yeah.
Wow, it's so comfortable. It's nice being on a bike again where I can flat foot right away and I'm not like this. I can almost flat foot my V-Strom. Of course, I have a very tall inseam at 34 inches. Most of my height is in my legs. So yeah, these bikes are meant to be shifted at 4,000 RPM. Look at that. Look at this lean angle. I'm not scraping anything. And that's almost 80k an hour around a pretty tight little corner. Wow. I would put the Vance & Hines slip-ons on. Ah, look at that. Just like in Edmonton, people merge onto the highway where it's 100 kilometers an hour going 70 something. That's just crazy. Well, I guess there's bad drivers everywhere, isn't there? The wind protection on this thing is crazy. I mean, hopefully it's still just as good when I put a little lower windshield on. But the ergonomics of the bike, I can definitely see why people like the fixed fairing to the frame better than something on the forks. Because when I turn these handlebars, there's like no weight on them, obviously. But it's just so nimble, it's crazy. And of course, in the middle LCD, we've got multiple trip meters, we've got gear indicator, distance till empty, clock, temperature, all the good stuff that we would need. There's that set cruise control. Wow, is that ever nice. And very, very steady handling. No movement in the bars on the wind. So for your gauges, you get a temperature gauge, you get a fuel gauge. Of course, you have distance till empty in the LCD display. I'm cruising along here in 5th gear at 110 at just under 3,000 RPM. This is going to be a very, very hard bike to beat when it comes time for me to buy, especially given that this bike is regular price $20,500 out the door, and then I would probably add maybe another $500 or $600 to do Oxford heated grips, mirror wideners, a lower windshield so I can see right over it, and some slip-ons. Vance & Hines slash cut slip-ons, just to give it a little throw to your note. This is an incredible riding bike. So I've ridden the Ultra Classic, I've ridden the Goldwing, I've ridden the Indian Roadmaster, but I didn't do a video on that because I was in between my Garmin and my GoPro when I rode that. The only one I haven't ridden is the Yamaha Star Venture. But I mean, of all the bikes, I would say the Goldwing had the best ride, but this is a really close second, really close. And this has really good handling, very, very similar to the Goldwing. You know, given the price point, this is the best bike I've ridden. When you look at absolutely everything, this is hands down the best bike I've ridden for a full dress touring bike. I really like the Harley, I like the look of the Harley, I really like the fact of the dealer network support. That's a great, great thing. But am I willing, I'd like to buy new, because I put a lot of K on my bike. I ride 30 to 35,000 K a year, and I'm not retired yet. When I retire, I plan to ride more. So, every 2.5 to 3 years, 100,000 K on my bike. So I know that this bike will do it, motor tranny, and I'll just replace wearable items because my Nomad was bulletproof, and I can buy the extended warranty if I need it. I was just chatting with my buddy Ken about this. The Harley would be able to do it as well, I believe, but there are issues with the Harley where it's going to require a lot more maintenance and maintenance dollars to do those kind of miles. Compensator spring pack, the primary bearings, the primary chain, the chain tensioner. These are all items that are known to fail on the Harleys between 50 and 70,000 K. So every 2 years, not to mention gaskets leaking around the rocker boxes and such, you know, I'm going to be looking at a good $1,500, I'm sorry, to keep that bike running. And of course, if we look new, this bike is $20,499 out the door, and the Harley was $36,500, the Goldwing is $30,000, the Indian Roadmaster was about $38,000, and the Star Venture is $32,000. So this bike is literally almost half the price of all the other bikes, but it is not half the bike. Maintenance on this bike, I think, will be probably fairly similar to my Nomad. It was very cheap for scheduled maintenance, and of course on this bike we have hydraulic lifters, so there's no valve clearances to do every 12, 24,000 K, 18,000 K like a lot of other bikes. So that really cuts your maintenance down. Yeah, you know what? I don't even know if I need to ride that Star Venture. Because really, I'm not interested in spending $32,000 on a bike. And I would like to buy new, but I would buy used if I got a really good deal. Not being that familiar with this bike, I'm not going to go too crazy with my cornering, because the last thing I want to do is smash it, you know, that old "you broke it, you bought it." But I mean, it holds its line beautifully. I mean, I'm doing these little sweepers for on and off ramp at 80k an hour, and this thing is just holding its line. Some people believe the steering can be a little bit vague when you really push it, but there's Gary's fork brace or the super brace that you can buy to stiffen up the front end. Is this a 2018 or 19?
I believe it's a 19.
A 19. And no changes from the 18 to the 19 other than colors? Yeah. Okay. Now we have to remember that this is a 895-pound bike compared to the Vaquero, which was 865 pounds. So you've probably got an extra 60-70 pounds, but you know what? You don't feel it at all. And the funny thing is, there's just a little over $1,000 price difference between the Vaquero and the Voyager. And just from riding this and seeing how light and nimble it is, it's $1,000 I would easily spend to get the bigger top-loading saddlebags and to get that trunk. There are people out there who have quick fixes for removing the trunk if you want to get that badass bagger look, if you like.
And my finishing installed, everything was great. And
we don't want to get any YouTube license issues. I was on a radio station with talking, and I turned it up to, you saw, about 17, and apparently it goes to 30, and I could hear it perfect with a full face on at 85 kilometers an hour with the visor down. I'm sure on the highway you wouldn't be able to hear it, but again, not a big deal for me because I have my Senna. So we're just going to head out on the highway here so we can get it up to 120, set the cruise, and just see how stable it is in the wind. There are two locking compartments in the front, a 12-volt GPS, a 12-volt plug. This is like riding on a cloud compared to my V-Strom. It's unbelievable. It's every bit as nice as the Harleys and the Goldwings at less than half the cost. I've never been a real big believer in buying a bike and then immediately having to put, you know, $2,000 or $3,000 into it to buy stage 1 kits and air cleaners and power commanders and in order to get the performance of the bike. I mean, if you're spending 20, 30, 40 grand on a bike, it should perform out of the box. And if it doesn't, then I just look for another bike. Because I do a lot of kilometers, I don't like to go too crazy in the aftermarket other than bolt-on stuff. I don't want to do stuff to the motor, to the tranny. And the whole reason why is depending on where you had it installed, it's all stuff that could let you down on the road. And when we go, we do trips that are, you know, 15, 17,000 kilometers. Some shorter ones at 10,000 kilometers. And, you know, when you're in the middle of nowhere, you don't want your bike breaking down because somebody didn't install something correctly. So other than slip-ons to get a rumble, I don't like to mess with the motor, the tranny, any of that stuff. Some people will do change their cams, you know, bore their cylinders, change the porting on the motor for the valves in order to get more power. And my philosophy has always been, if it doesn't have enough power out of the box, then buy a different box. Buy a different bike. Now we have to remember these are not sport bikes. It's not a V-Strom. My V-Strom has way more power at 1000cc V-twin compared to this 1700cc V-twin. But it's a different bike, right? It's a different purpose. So this bike is an older technology compared to like Goldwings and the Harleys, as far as a lot of them have gone to the Showa front suspension or the telelever system for the Goldwing. They may have the same type of suspension or a monoshock in the rear. This still has the 2 gas shocks in the back, and I still have my little pump from when I had my Nomad, so I'm all good there. You set it and leave it. They give you different figures for a rider passenger luggage, or rider with luggage. And to me, it's not a big inconvenience to save $20,000 on the price of the vehicle to have to set those manually versus being able to dial it in. Because of course, this bike does not have a power windshield, it does not have electronic suspension, it doesn't have tire pressure monitoring, doesn't have traction control. It does have linked ABS with the K-Ax system, which is awesome. I personally like having ABS on a bike. And we're just heading back now. This has been an awesome test ride. I think that Toby really covered the bases, letting me have a bit of everything. We had some broken roads, so the suspension's great, and I haven't gotten it set for me. I mean, I'm a 200-pound guy. This thing is probably set out of the box for a 160, 170-pound guy, and that's a big difference in suspension. So it would be even more perfect if I dialed it in for me. Yeah, I mean, I really don't see any downsides to purchasing this bike if you buy an extended warranty. I know that one of the items that wore when I got close to, I think it was 80 to 90,000 K, was the steered tube bearings and wheel bearings, but you can now buy all balls replacements rather than the stock Cowie ones, and apparently they work really, really well. They give you apparently about 30 to 40% more wear. So that's something I would definitely do. And of course for tires, I don't know what this comes with. They feel pretty good, but I'm thinking I would go with the Michelin Commander 2s still. Because those Michelin Commander 2s have an amazing cross between grip and wear. On my Nomad, which was lighter than this by probably about 80 pounds, I was getting 24 to 25,000 kilometers out of the front and rear tires. I just hit that big bump on the tracks on purpose because I'm not buying this particular bike. And the suspension is beautiful. Ooh, there we go, touchdown. But you know what? The board folded up under my foot, so it's not obtrusive. You know that it's going to potentially happen, so you're ready for it, and it's no big deal. Steve and the boys are out by the bike. We're going to return this up here. Okay, YouTube, I'm back. We had a wonderful lunch. I think it's called the Regency Palace, downtown Calgary, for dim sum. Not quite as good as Beijing in Edmonton, in my opinion, but good nonetheless. So I'm just going to give you my post-test ride thoughts. That blue-colored Voyager that I rode was a beautiful bike. Beautiful paint, lots of chrome. I personally am a fan of the blacked out look, but it only comes as chrome, so it is what it is. It was a 2019, and as I said, it was a 1700cc, 103 cubic inch. ABS with the KAX system, stereo, full gauges, no GPS in it, no touchscreen. Again, not a big deal for me because I don't care. I prefer to have a separate GPS because it works better. And I have my Senna for communication and for music into my helmet. Large top-loading saddlebags, a very large trunk, easily able to hold 2 full-face helmets, and that's with my camera gear on the front and my Senna on the side. I like the retro style of the... oh, there goes Heath. I like the retro style of the gauges and of the fairing. Again, it is a frame mounted, so it gives you that little bit of extra protection in the wind. It doesn't get blown around, and it was it's not a really windy day today, but we did get on the highway, and it was very stable. You certainly can tell steering the bike without the weight on the handlebars, on the forks, that it is much, much lighter. The bike rode very well. As I said, I like the layout of the gauges. It also drove incredibly nice. I love that heel-toe shifter. And of course, it's a heel-toe shifter and a floorboard that actually fits a size 11 boot. Unlike the Harley Ultra Classic and the Road Glide Ultra, theirs is made for someone with a boot size of about an 8, maybe a 7. So I can't get my foot in on that one. Love the heel-toe shifter. As I said earlier during the test ride, plenty of power for me. Again, I would keep the engine stock. All I would do is add slip-on mufflers just to get that little throatier sound. I'm not one who believes in mucking with the motor and mucking with the transmission, doing stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5 kits on a motor. I mean, if you buy the bike and it doesn't have enough power the way it is, then buy another bike, in my opinion. You definitely shouldn't have to pay $30,000 to $40,000 for a motorcycle and then spend another $5,000 to upgrade it so it has some decent power. So I don't think I would do the Ivan's ECU flash until the bike was off warranty, and then I would just do it more for curiosity to see what difference it makes in the bike. So the Kawasaki comes with a 3-year bumper-to-bumper unlimited K warranty. You can bump that up to a 7-year with extended warranty that costs you about $1,800. The bike itself, in the middle of summer, is $20,499 or $20,500 out the door. I have seen them advertised in the winter when there's been a 1-year-old new one where they sell as low as $19,500, so about $1,000 off. So again, about half the price of everybody else's touring bikes, but it is not half the machine. It rides beautifully, steers really nice, corners really well, stable on the road, stable in the wind. Electronic cruise control was really nice. Hydraulic clutch is beautiful, and of course they've had a hydraulic clutch for over a decade, and it works really nice. Controls are all adjustable for your hand size for the clutch and the brake, front brake. It's a really nice bike, an amazing bike for the price, given that you can get it at the most for $20,500 compared with $36,000 to $38,000 for the competitors. So yeah, if I decide that in retirement I want a new bike, then I will buy a Voyager without question, because there's just nothing that touches it bang for the buck. Now if I buy used, then I will look at a Harley or a 2012 to 2017 Goldwing as far as a full tour bike. If I do not want a full tour bike at that time, then I would consider the Kawasaki Vaquero or a Harley Street Glide or the Harley Heritage Classic. So I don't think I need to test ride the Star Venture. I mean, I'm sure it's a really nice bike, but it's also $33,000, $34,000, and I just don't want to spend that much, so there's no point in driving it. So now I just have to wait till retirement, save up my pennies, and then get a bike that hopefully Lisa will go for some rides with me on. So we're just heading back to Edmonton now. It's a beautiful day. A little bit of clouds on the side, but I think we're going to miss all that. It is quite humid. So there will be rain tonight, I'm sure. Lots of bikes on the road, everybody enjoying the weather. It's 23 degrees, sunny, and a little bit of a wind. You guys keep the rubber side down, drive safe, and we'll see you next time.